Thanks, Connie. Thanks so much for joining us because I met you, gosh, it was over a year ago with talking about Lola, your lovely Lola, the Rottweiler. So if you just remind us where she comes from, where before you had her and her journey.
So we got Lola about 3 years ago now from Margaret Green Rescue Centre in Dorset, where we're from. We thought she was 10 months old. We thought she was a puppy, but actually she was a year. So we thought she was a very big puppy when we saw her at 10 months old.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
And then we brought her home.
And came home. And she was having just a normal meat-based diet, was she, when you first had her?
Yeah, so she was already a bit funny with her food at the point when we got her. So she was on a specific food because she'd had quite a few operations, but it was a meat-based food.
Yeah, and that's right. And she was so young, having already had operations. Was it ligament damage that she had, or did they say what operations she had had? It was joint operations, wasn't it?
Yeah, so she had OCD on her right shoulder, and the vet said it was the biggest piece of cartilage they'd ever removed from a dog.
Wow.
She had eye issues. So when I first met her, she had her eyelid stitched over her eye, which was a bit of a spooky way to meet your dog.
Oh, your new dog. Absolutely. Poor thing. Gosh.
And then it turned out that she had entropion. So that was several operations. And then whilst we had her, she also had 2 ruptured cruciate ligaments. So they both operated on as well.
Oh my goodness. And this is all under
a
year.
Half, really. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Because I mean, all the conditions you've mentioned, apart from the cruciate ligaments, they're actually all genetic. OCD in shoulder joints is something that will carry through in certain lines of dogs. And Rottweilers do get this entropion where the eyelids actually fold inwards and scratch the surface of the eye. So they need a bit of plastic surgery. So poor Lola, what a lot of, just while she was still a baby as well. And then she obviously had weaknesses in her cruciate ligaments that are in the knee joints, for her to already have had both of them rupture and already needing surgery while she was so young. But because she would have had surgery, it would have then set her up for the possibility of getting arthritis later on. Thank goodness she was operated on, because it then stabilizes the joint and keeps it as it should. But so was she quite was she limping at all when you had her? Did she show signs of arthritis?
So we found out she had arthritis when we went to the vet.
Yeah.
Well, no, maybe we were told at the very beginning that she'd had it since she was 9 months old. So they'd x-rayed her and they'd seen she had arthritis. So we already knew that was an ongoing issue. But when we first had her, she did move a bit funnily, maybe had like a little bit of a limp. But yeah, we then went on to obviously find that she had ruptured cruciate ligament when her legs just kept going, so she wouldn't be able to walk on one for a few days, and then it would be the other one. Then we eventually took her to the vet and discovered
she had those problems. And did it affect her energy levels? Did it make her less energetic on walks, or was she still? Yeah, she ignored that.
Big bouncy Rottweiler.
Right. Okay, so that's her sort of her clinical history. And then what happened what was your decision to turn her plant-based? Where did that come from?
So I'm vegan myself. I have been for 4 years, so I would have been around 3 years vegan at this point. And I had actually just heard that it was really good for dogs in terms of their diet to be on a plant-based diet. And then I think with the context of my dog being a breed that is quite notorious for getting certain diseases, and also just with her history, and also I just really didn't feel that the foods that I was giving her when I was looking at the label of meat-based foods, firstly, they were kind of, the majority of it was plant-based anyway. It was like 5% or 10% meat added into it. So I just felt like that was unnecessary, and it was such a small part. But also I did a lot of research into it, and I heard really awful things about what can be in meat-based foods. So kind of like, it's like the rotten remains of like farmed animals, or it's downed animals. Or I think there was one study that was conducted like in the Netherlands or somewhere, and they found actually dog remains within dog food. So it's a little bit scary, like you don't really know what's going into this food. Yeah. And she was on this food which we'd found for her. She had lots of issues with food. She'd stopped eating food. She had like a bad belly all the time. We'd switch food all the time, and then she would just stop eating it. We'd think, oh, thank God she really likes her food now. And then she'd stop eating it again. And then the food that she liked was actually quite a cheap food. And I just sat there and really thought about it. And you wouldn't feed your child really cheap food. Yeah. So why would you feed your dog, who you treat like your child and as part of your family, something that's really cheap and nasty?
Yeah, such a good point. That you're so right. Yeah.
And then, yeah, I just thought, considering her issues, and I just thought that a plant-based diet might prolong her life, and she might have a happier and healthier life, especially considering her breed. And also I was told to keep her at a certain weight because of her arthritis. So I thought all of these things might balance out if I have a plant-based diet for her.
Perfect. Oh, well done. I take my hat off to you with doing your research and working those things out, because every fact you've mentioned, it's healthier for us, so it's going to be healthier for our dogs. Yes, meat-based foods, there is a lot of cheap ingredients that go into those, especially the cheaper brands. The cheaper they are, the worse of both the plant-based section and the meat-based section. They're just choosing the cheapest of both of those to put into food, because they can just disguise it as dog food. But without having the support of, you wouldn't have had the support of your vet with your decision. So I take my hat off to you. Well done. Just stepping out on your own and choosing the healthier option. And you're quite right, she will live longer, because so when you transition her, was it an easy transition? Did she take to the food straight away? Was she happy with the change?
So, in the beginning, we had all the different options that you'd given us, which was lovely. So we could try out quite a few different things. She actually liked them all, which was a little bit worrying, because I was trying to figure out which one I should be giving her, but I couldn't really figure out which one she didn't like. Yeah. But she's usually quite like that. So she'll really like lots of food in the beginning, and then she'll sort of go off them. So anyway, we settled between the Greta and the Solo.
Yeah, good.
And then she stuck with the Solo Vegetal, the Italian plant-based food.
Perfect, which is completely balanced. So it's one of those that definitely she can stay on for her life. But then at least she's got the option of others, because as you say, dogs are just like us. They do go off certain tastes, they go off consistencies, and then you reintroduce maybe the tin food, reintroduce a different brand, and then suddenly, oh, that they like it again. So wonderful. That good.
No, but I definitely have to mention that I think without you, it would have been very difficult for me to do it, because like you said, I didn't have the support of my vet. I did actually mention it to him once when we were sort of in and out with Lola for her operations, and he sort of smirked at me when I mentioned plant-based, and that I'd heard that it would actually could be a really good idea for her health.
Yes. And you even mentioned plant-based. Like I remember I told you, don't use the word vegan, use plant-based, and he still smirked. Oh gosh, so well done you for sticking with your values. Yeah, because I think that's the hardest, isn't it? Is when a professional doesn't agree with your reasoning. Things will change. I mean, certainly last year when I spoke to you, actually, the choices were quite limited with balanced good foods, but actually since last year there's a whole range of new companies that have started up in the UK. So actually the more companies there are, the more, and what I've done as a group is we've actually joined up with all these companies. We might be in competition with each other, but we don't see it that way. We just see it as we're all in this group together, and we're all against the meat-based cheaper foods. So the future will be better, definitely, for plant-based feeding.
Definitely.
And then as regards energy levels and her arthritis, what changes did you see with that?
So with regards to, I'll start with the arthritis. So at the same time that I was asking you what kind of foods I should be feeding Lola, I asked you about her arthritis. So we were struggling with that a little bit, especially during winter when it got a bit colder. She was definitely a bit stiffer. And we were giving her these raved about at every, I think all over the UK, at every veterinary practice, lipped muscle, is that correct?
The green.
Yes.
Yes.
So there were two problems with that. Lola's quite fussy. She didn't like the smell. And I already knew that giving it to her, she wouldn't like it because it's quite a strong, fragrant smell. So that was already a problem. And the second problem was it didn't actually work. So she was still just really stiff. And
it's not a sustainable product.
No, it's not either. It made me feel bad as a vegan.
I'm sure, absolutely. Were you doing everything right with, yes, with
definitely. Yeah. And then I moved her on to, correct me if I'm wrong with how I'm pronouncing it, but the glucosamine.
Yes, glucosamine. Yes, well done. Just the plain ones, yeah. And did you start seeing a difference just using?
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And the algae oil. So you prescribed me, because my partner had actually bought us the what's it called? Fish oil?
Yeah. The nothing fishy algae oil.
No, actual like fish oil, salmon
oil.
Oh,
the actual fish oil. Oh, okay. All right.
He bought that before alongside the lip to muscle and the U-move, and but they both just weren't working, and they both absolutely stank. So it just wasn't pleasant, and it wasn't working. And then obviously we had the glucosamine, the chondroitin, and the algae oil supplements. So vegan omegas.
Absolutely,
I think we started doing it, was it in winter? It was sort of the end of winter, obviously, after my phone call with you. I think we were going into Easter. So it was a little bit hard to tell at first whether it was working. Obviously, we've just come through a whole winter cycle almost. We're almost out the other side, thank God. Exactly. But she's been great. So she's not stiff. I mean, she'll always be slightly stiff on her back legs because she's had 2 ruptured cruciate ligaments. She's had operations, but I can't even really remember so much the difficulty she experienced, but I do remember she was quite difficult getting up, getting down, getting upstairs. She was slow to move, slow to get up in the morning. And it really actually worried me because she was only like 1.5 to 2 years old. And now she's 4 years old. And I would say that she's better now than she was when she was at 2 years old. So that's obviously to do with the supplements I'm giving her.
Oh gosh, Connie, that is just such wonderful news. And also for you as an owner and as a vegan, it must feel fantastic knowing that everything you've chosen and selected for her and given to her is the best. It's the health, it's sort of the healthiest for her. It's all plant-based, but equally everything is vegan. The algae oil absolutely is. And there's 2 different products. It was actually a human doctor who recommended the one product to me, who she advised. I was helping her with her dog, and she advised, I use these on my human patients, and it's exactly the same in humans as in dogs with algae oils, and getting the one with the highest level of omega-3s. And these are obviously the pure omega-3s where the fish get their omega-3s from. But these would be made in lovely big bioreactors in Holland, beautifully sustainable company. But those would certainly have made that huge difference, not only to her joints, but also just to her general health as well. She's also what we term a giant breed, the Rottweilers. And so they can fall into the category of having problems with heart health as well, sadly. And so thank goodness she loves the Solo Vegetal, because obviously that's got the extra taurine added in with it, but omega-3s are equally as important in heart health. So actually supplementing that algae oil is helping her general health. Because I think you asked a question, is you're just when you emailed me last week, is you're so pleased with the results that you've seen with her, that is there a blood test that can be done just to check that everything is normal? So that would just be a standard blood test that you would have done at your vet. But from what you're saying, it wouldn't be necessary, because she's getting one of the top foods, Solo Vegetal. You're giving her the top supplements. So actually there should be nothing lacking in her diet that should be causing any deficiencies of any sort. It's, as I say, it's certainly a diet that she can stay on permanently, and that would result in her living longer with the conditions that she has. So just well done, you, Connie. You've made all the right decisions with everything you've done. I have sent you some of the Tare Pet, because they send me some free samples just to send to owners. So what they are is they're a new sustainable company that started a few months ago, and they make the vegan alternative to UMove. So they've taken the glucosamine, the chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, vitamin C, and also some of the algae oils as well, and vitamin D3, and put them all together in these little chews.
Ooh, okay.
And they're really, really tasty. In fact, my little dog, he's got these little wonky legs because he's a rescue, and I know he will have arthritis when he's older. So I just give them daily. I mean, he loves it. To him, it's like a treat. It doesn't smell fishy like the UMoves would, because obviously Lola didn't like those, did she? So definitely worth seeing if Lola likes these new ones, because that, as I said, always worth supporting these lovely independent companies as well that have really gone for sustainability. They've chosen a tin as well, so nothing in plastic. So just everything sustainable about the company. But no, thank you. Your story is just lovely. Oh, I'm just so happy for you, because I remember meeting your lovely Lola, and I could see the bond you had with her. When we take on a rescue, we take on the problems, whether they be behavioral or physical, and they go together with the character of the dog, and they bond us even more, I think, with whatever we take on. And your decisions that you've made on your own are all the right ones. So just well done. She's a lucky support. And well, yes, because we sort of we reached each other at the right time, didn't we? Because I think I just started reaching out to owners, but it's just lovely listening to your story. If other owners can just hear this, and owners who have the same conditions with their dogs, whether it be arthritis due to old age, or a young dog with arthritis, just knowing that actually the choices you've made with the plant-based to keep her weight down, but equally choosing the right omega-3s, the sustainable omega-3s with the algae oil, and the sustainable glucosamine and chondroitin, because a lot of chondroitin and glucosamine, well, chondroitin in particular is actually made from crushed shellfish, and there's nothing sustainable in using anything from our oceans now. We've got to leave everything in our ocean where it is. So to actually find products that are not damaging anything is just the way forward. Yeah, with everything. Yeah, good. Oh, thank you so much, Connie.